Generally speaking, we're not sure if Donald Trump is God or the Pope. Every other day, there's a new position. And one day last week, he played the role of an imam. The U.S. is totally at a loss. There's a 65 to 70% opposition to what's going on, to the U.S. being drawn into this attack on Iran, to being immersed again in an endless war. That makes no sense. That was simply to the benefit of Israel. There's very strong opposition in the United States on the streets, and to some degree, except for the Republican members of Congress, by Congress itself. It's a military action that is in violation of domestic law, and it is an attack that is in violation of international law. And the notion of Trump being able to spin, to create, to craft, to lie, to assuage his so-called base is long gone. He's very unpopular. A majority of Americans think he's suffering from mental health problems, that he doesn't know what he's doing, that he's lost, and ultimately we're all going to pay a price, be it through the loss of our sons and daughters or the loss of other sons and daughters, or through an economy that is collapsing day by day.
You know, frankly, we're a bit confused here on this side of the pond as well, because Donald Trump has said that the U.S. literally does not need the Strait of Hormuz. Then the U.S. does not even use it. Then he said that he's imposed a blockade on it. That's after Iran said it had already closed it. What do you think Trump is trying to achieve anyway?
It started out as another one of his deflections, whether it was ICE agents, got to get away from the Epstein scandal. Now his wife's talking about it. It started out as a deflection, but then it played into his overwhelming ego that's rooted in nothing. We don't know where it's at. We don't know what's next. We have a president who's out of control with significant mental health problems. We have a Secretary of Defense who calls himself the Secretary of War, who has no clue what he's doing, who raves, he commits violations of international law every day by his announcements to wipe out cultures. This is both Trump and the Secretary of Defense. We have Netanyahu finally admitting publicly, we drew Trump in. This is exactly what we wanted to do for 40 years. And now we're going to expand it to go after Lebanon. And is Istanbul next? I don't know. So there is this feeling of numbness here. And in the best of light, Trump is interpreted as a narcissist who's desperate to hang on, building gold medals and monuments to himself, writing his name on dollar bills, and meanwhile, tens of thousands of people, indeed millions, are being displaced, are being killed, are being injured, and the world economy is in shatters. Forever, the U.S. has claimed that we are a guiding spirit for the world economy, a golden sort of shining path for the rest of the world. We're lost. The world looks at us and laughs, has no clue.
And Trump says that some other countries will join the blockade without specifying, though. And NATO members such as the UK and Spain say they're having no part in this. Why is Europe so unwilling to support Trump right now?
Because they realize he's a ship that has sunk. He's beat up NATO. Putting aside whether you like NATO or not, there is this agreement that's 70 or 80 years old that has certain requirements. There's no requirement in the NATO agreement that other countries will join Trump or the United States, even though in the past they have, in international war crimes and involvement overseas. The agreement calls for the defense of members. NATO's lost, Europe's confused, no one can believe a word of what he's saying. So, this whole equation among the West and the United States, among Europe and the United States, among the Middle East and the United States is totally lost. Meanwhile, Israel enters into all these agreements with the Abraham Accords for Gulf states who are bearing the brunt of the assault from Iran as a result of what Israel itself has done. I cannot recall in my life such a time of mass confusion where one day it's up, one day it's down, one day it's sunny, one day it's raining, and people are desperately looking for answers, and from an administration and a president who have none.
Now, regarding the Pope, who issued a warning against wars, and Trump took it personally, apparently, slamming the pontific for not understanding the supposed importance of the war on Iran. Trump even posted a photo, apparently depicting himself as Jesus Christ, although he later said it was him as a doctor. We have that clip that I want everybody to listen right now.
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and it had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, "How did they come up with that?" It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better.
All right, Mr. Cohen, I can't wait to hear your reaction on this.
It's insanity. He treats the rest of the world that sees and hears and knows, the Pope, for example, that he's a liar, that he's violating international law. And when he gets caught, he just rewrites the script. He says, I didn't do that. It's the fake news. This is someone who is so far outside of his skill set. This is someone with no experience in international treaties, international law, foreign relations. The only relationship he has with international countries, with other countries, is corruption, getting money, and just getting wealthy off of their investments for corruption. The notion that he would take the Pope on, the leader of 1.5 billion people, a U.S. citizen, by the way, and attack him as being lost, as lying, as being a religious deviant, is absurd. It's insanity. And that picture that he put out on the internet speaks for itself. This is someone who, it doesn't matter what he says, as soon as he gets caught saying it, he'll deny it, he'll rewrite it, he'll point the finger at you, say it's you, you're an idiot, or you're the fake news. And look, even his Christian nationalist movement in this country, which traditionally has been his base, is disgusted, is offended, and is lost. He's only going to get more desperate. If ever, my God, the 25th Amendment had a role to play in this country where he could be and must be removed, this is the time. He has enormous mental health issues. He has no idea what he's doing. He's risking who knows what violence, death, and destruction across the globe. And now he's going to seize the straits? Well, perhaps he thinks it's Greenland or Cuba or Venezuela. Or maybe he thinks it's a blue state, New York. He's lost. He's hopeless, and unfortunately, the world is going to pay for it.
You know, sir, we do have another clip that I want you to take a listen to, but this one comes from Benjamin Netanyahu, who's tried to justify Israel's attacks on several Iranian nuclear facilities by saying that if it had not done so, those sites would seem similar to the Auschwitz concentration camp where Jews were killed during World War II. Let's take a listen to what he said exactly.
The state of Israel is at the peak of its power, and on the eve of Holocaust Remembrance Day, it is of utmost importance to say the following. If we had not acted, if we had not taken our fate into our own hands in the independent state of Israel, with the Israel Defense Forces and our security forces, the names Isfahan, Natanz, Fordau, and Bushehr would sound the same as Auschwitz, Majdanek, and Sobibor.
What do you make of this statement, sir?
Interesting that a man who was indicted by the ICC for genocide, for whom there's an arrest warrant, wanted for genocide, who has murdered hundreds of thousands of civilians in Palestine, who has displaced millions in Lebanon, who was attacked all over the region, would dare to raise the specter of the history of Auschwitz. He forgets that tens of millions of Europeans, including millions of Russians, were slaughtered by the Germans in violation of international law. He forgets the Nuremberg tribunals that held Germany responsible for the very kinds of violations that Netanyahu and his ilk are carrying out today. Hypocrisy. And the claim that they were days, weeks, months away from a nuclear weapon, he's been saying the same thing, as has the United States for decades. Next week, next week, next week. It's more weapons of mass destruction, which was a lie, and used as a pretext for the United States to go after Iraq, where 1 million or so civilians died. And once again, it's built on a lie. It's built on survival. Netanyahu's worried about going to jail. Netanyahu is desperate to hang on. He will go to war against anyone and everyone he can as long as the United States allows him to do it. The United States could stop this tomorrow. Every president in the last 20 years could have put a complete halt to Israeli genocide. The notion that he mentions the Holocaust is sick, it's disgusting, and it's hypocritical. A Holocaust indeed in Gaza, a Holocaust indeed at times in Lebanon, a Holocaust indeed they'd like to see in Iran and in Syria. It is the height of duplicity, and it treats the world as idiots. We're not. They are dishonest, they are criminals, and they are violating international law.
I'm glad that you mentioned Lebanon, because I wanted to ask you something about that as well. Because while the U.S. had a ceasefire with Iran, Israel bombed Lebanon, insisting that it wasn't part of the truce. What do you think about Israel's invasion of Lebanon, and why would Israel so heavily bomb the country while the U.S. and Iran were at least attempting to engage in peace talks?
Israel tries to steal as much money from the bank as they can while everyone's on the floor with their hands up. Israel does not believe itself bound by international law. Netanyahu, in particular, like Sharon before, decades ago, believe that they have unmitigated power to go to war, to commit genocide, to commit crimes, and to invade others. This is probably the third, the fourth, the fifth time that Israel has invaded Lebanon, that has occupied the south, that has held torture camps there, that has been in violation of international law. The notion that Israel is going to draw back when it's attacking in Iran, when it's attacking in Lebanon, when it's attacking in parts of Syria, when it is drawing the United States in, is wishful thinking. Israel never feels itself bound by international law. Everywhere Israel bombs, everywhere Israel slaughters, they claim they're terrorists that are using human beings, civilians, as human shields. It's all nonsense. The notion that Iran would enter into a peace agreement which did not require Israel to withdraw from Lebanon is ridiculous.
All right, Stanley Cohen, attorney and human rights advocate, speaking to us from New York. Thank you so much for finding the time and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you. Appreciate it.